Welcome back to the Forensics Detailing channel, or Forensics Unplugged channel, sister channel to the Forensics Detailing channel. Right, if I haven't lost half of you already, why is there nothing else to drive apart from Porsches? What do you mean? Well, say you're of a certain age and you've got like 30 to 50 grand in the bank. Don't quote me on that. Just putting some rough, figures around where you might be. Say you've got about 30 to 50 grand to spend on a car, and you don't want a family car. You want a car that you can go to, drive around to little events to, meet similar-minded people, go on road trips, maybe go to a track day or drive epic roads, around everyone talks about, like take up to the Evo Triangle and rag it around there and dodge the speed cameras and all that. You really start, don't you, with a Porsche? Excuse the coughing. And you've got, of course, the Caymans and the Boxsters, and we could go into detail and say you've got the 986 Boxsters, and then the 987 Caymans and Boxsters, and then the 981s Caymans and Boxsters, and your Spiders as well. I won't go into those. And then you've got 718s, Cayman and Boxsters. Then you've got all your 911s that you could go and buy, and 20 to or say 30 to 50 grand. You're probably really looking at 996s, 997s, and now perhaps 991s are becoming viable as well, aren't you? And there's your kind of Porsche, list of options, if you like. I'm sure I'm missing a few in Porsche. But when I was thinking about what car to get after BMW, when I was sort of getting a bit bored with the M4 and the fact it was just too grunty and too powerful really to enjoy, and too much electronics and too sort of numbed down, a turbocharged engine with all that electronics involved, electronic rack, electronic actuated steering, flappy pedals. There was no engagement. So I was sort of looking for something that could be a bit more engaging. And I really struggled to find anything else beyond Porsche that was actually viable. And what did I kind of look at? Well, I told you I was thinking about Lotuses and the old Exige Cups, the Exige, I can't remember what they're called. Like, there's so many different model numbers, isn't there? But it's like 380 Sport. But then that could go up to like 390, 400, 410, however they work it out, 411, all that sort of stuff. And you're talking like 50 to 80 grand here. And that was a real option that would do really well around the circuit, but they are just little go-karts with no carpet in them, and they're too hardcore, and they're too low, and they're too track focused. And I think Lotus realised that and then brought out the Lotus Emira, which may be the answer, and the only answer to that sort of market. Is if you're in a market for a Porsche, the Lotus Emira might be the only thing. But obviously, because it's a new car, you're probably talking 60k plus, aren't you? So, going to be out of budget. I'm not too impressed with the build quality on the paintwork of those Emiras from what I've seen as well. The paint, God, the finishing marks in them and stuff like that is on another level. But on the surface of it, that might be, if that was a slightly older car and you can get it for not a lot of money, I think they're beautiful, and they might tick a lot of boxes. Manual, V6, isn't it? 3-litre V6 or something, I can't remember. What else have we got to explore? Well, Jag. What the hell are Jaguar doing? What have Jaguar got? Jaguar have got, they used to have the XK, didn't they? Which was like their beefy old sports car on the XKR. And then they used to, it was the F-Type, wasn't it? The one with the fancy lights. You could argue, I've got no idea what the price of those are, but you could argue Jaguar have got an option with a couple of sports cars. And I did quite like the look of those F-Types. But then the more digging around I did on it and the price of them, I just got the impression, I've been in one, I've never driven one, so I don't know, but I just got the impression for your money, they just weren't as good as your Porsches, they just weren't as good. Chassis-wise, performance-wise, everything. They just weren't quite as good. But again, I think we possibly might have uncovered another option there with the F-Type and the Emira. Going back to Lotus, you did also have the Evora, which I think they tried to come out of this hardcore nature of this Exige or Exige and the Elise kind of previous platform. But again, I found the Evoras were a little bit expensive for what you wanted, and perhaps still a little bit hardcore. But I've been in a few of those, and they are pretty special to go around a motor circuit with. So what else have we got, guys? What other sports cars have we got? Well, what about your beloved BMW, John? Well, they got the Z4, haven't they? The Z4. And so there'll be a ZM4, won't there? Or ZM4, whatever it is. The top of the line Z4. But BMW, they're amazing at making or converting their road saloons like the M3 and the M3, M4, M2. They're good at making those cars, give them to the M division, and they can make some amazing things happen. But I think they're pretty lousy at making a sports car. It's not the right word, is it, lousy? But they've just never been that successful with the Z4, even though it's a decent effort. I think the styling was the biggest problem with it, and lack of that flagship, iconic kind of one, that built the platform, and then it goes and sets a benchmark, and it's popular, and then they keep building from it, and they start taking a chunk of the market from Porsche. They were never good enough to ever do that for the price. So I don't think BMW are an option, even though, I love my Beamers. I did look at Z4s a little bit. I'm not too interested in Merc sports cars. And what have Audi got? Well, Audi have got the TT is not, well, I suppose you'd have to put the TT on there, wouldn't you? If you went to Audi. I don't know why though, the TT just isn't sporty enough for me. Great little car, but not sporty enough for me. And then obviously you've got the R8, which it's a very hardcore kind of car that's going to cost you a lot to maintain and run, but it is a fantastic car. So I suppose you could get an early, V8 example of one of those or something like that. I don't know what they go for. I'm imagining you can get those for less than 50 grand nowadays. I don't know. You tell me in the comments if that would be an option. But I know people that have had these, and I just remember everything costing an arm and a leg. The suspension, every time that's changed tyres, and I think that for me would just be like going back to the M4, where if I tracked it, I'd end up killing myself and spending a fortune. With Mercedes, I don't even know what they've got nowadays. Mercedes, you've got the SLK, haven't you? Some other options, no idea. Rubbish with those. Probably would never go for a Merc at the moment. Now, what else? Well, you've got to think of the other stuff. We'd have to go down the Japanese road, wouldn't we? So the problem with the Japanese road is none of it's quite as premium. So you've got Toyota, you've got Mazda, you've got Nissan, you've got Honda, Chinese, Japanese, whatever, all the Eastern European makes. You've now got Kia, you've got Hyundai. Am I missing anything here? I must be missing something, aren't I? I'm missing a real obvious one. But am I right in saying, basically, there's nothing now that Toyota are doing, really, that's going to be of interest to you? I think the GT86 is it. Just a little bit too plasticky looking for me with the lights and stuff. Don't like the styling of it, although that's a viable, cheap track car, don't get me wrong. I'm just trying to think. Mazda, can't think of anything. What are they doing at the moment, Mazda? There's nothing, is there? They've given up the ghost. Don't know, you Mazda fans tell me. Nissan, you've maybe got 350Z. You've got the GTR. Bit hardcore again, the GTR, but it could be an option. Honda, really, they don't have sports cars. They're not really doing sports cars now. I know you've got like Civic Type Rs and stuff, hot hatches, which are amazing, but not in terms of a sports car. So what have Honda got in terms of a sports car? So I can't remember. The last thing I remember that was a sports car was the S2000. Of course, with Mazda, we're forgetting the MX-5s, but, great track cars, amazing track cars, but if you're up in that sort of 30 to 50 grand category, it's less likely that's going to be, an MX-5 is going to be of interest to you. If you're after a weapon on track for not a lot of money. They are brilliant. And I don't know really much about Kia and Hyundai, what they're doing. Can't think of anything really. They're all hot hatches, aren't they? Stinger, don't know. What else is going on? Have I missed stuff here? I probably have. You've got the American stuff, but you know, who drives the American sports cars in the UK? I don't know. You know, Corvette have got some interesting things, but I can't see me driving around in a Corvette. What happened to Dodge? Don't even know what they're making nowadays. But the American things tend to be like muscly cars. They don't tend to sell well over in here to the Europeans. You know, unless it's an old classic one. You know, I don't think we're too interested in modern American sports cars in Europe, are we? What else? France, French, the French Peugeot. So let's think of the French. Are they going to save us? What have we got in France? Peugeot, Renault, and Citroën. Well, there's no sports. Oh, you've got an Alpine, haven't you? You've got the Alpine. That's about the only thing. Oh, Jesus. That's about the only thing I can think of that might be an option. Alpine. Or Alpina, I don't know. Alpine, isn't it? I don't know. That could be an option. Don't know what the price is on those. So we've got a few things going on here. Let's just circle some of the things where we've actually found some decent options, actually. I think that one there, that one there, that one there, that one there. And maybe there the GTR would be an option, wouldn't it? Next, Italy. So Fiat really, isn't it? Because they own all of it. Fiat have got just like, there's a cheap sports car in it. What's it called? I can't remember. Baracca or something, a soft top. That's no good. Ferrari, well, they're too expensive, isn't it? You're not going to be able to get one on a budget. They're for the people with a little bit more money. That's like the step up after Porsche for me. So it doesn't matter what Ferrari are doing, unless you went with an old 360 or 430. Actually, yeah, we should probably write things like that down. You could get an old Ferrari. Actually, it would be an option. Shouldn't rule that out, could we? Because these are all old as well. So yeah, maybe an old Ferrari, but you'd be struggling. I'd be very cautious about buying those because of the maintenance on them. Alfa Romeo. You've got the 4C, haven't you? Which is kind of quite cool. So that would be a little option. Actually, they might become. What's going on with those? I used to always drive Alfas. They were my favourite little brand, but they've given up the ghost. Like, oh God, Jesus! Oh, buy cheap Chinese eBay white markers, especially in the middle of the video. Hold on. So yeah, you got the 4C. Ah, good. That might be an option. What else? What else? Well, the only thing I can think of that we might have missed is some of the old classics like TVR, Holden, Noble. Don't know. Tell me about some of the cars within there that you think might be viable options, because I don't know them that well. TVR I understand, but they've sort of like disappeared now, haven't they? I always had a little soft spot. Was it for the T350? The sort of like, I think that's what it was called. I think so. Could be wrong on that. But that was like the understated version of the Sagaris platform. Always thought that was a cool car. The Tuscan was a bit much for me. Loved the Cerber back in the day, but that could be a car. I might go and do some Googling on those, see what happened to those, how much those cost. They were cool cars. There's some really cool TVRs as well. We haven't discussed things like Ford or Vauxhall. Did forget Suzuki, but I don't think they're doing much down here. Ford or Vauxhall. Well, Ford really don't have a sports car, do they, nowadays? Vauxhall don't. You've got the old VX220s, but they're like a little niche cult car. Ford, what have they got now, apart from the RS line, you know, the RS Focus? What's Ford got? They're not really doing much, are they? I think they're giving up on that as well. So what have we, look at that board. What have we missed here, guys? What have we missed? We must have missed stuff. There'd be some of you screaming out some real obvious howlers that I've made. I'm just trying to think when I go to a circuit, what other cars I see whizzing around the circuit. Or Caterhams, but they're not, they're just an out-and-out track car for me, for whatever. I'm looking for something that's a bit more balanced. And you can see sort of now, just wondering if I've gotten them all. I think I have. Anyway, if I've missed any, put them in the comments. You can see why you're so drawn to Porsche, because there's just so few options. And Porsche, it's not without its faults. You know, the parts are pricey. They're not the most solid things out there, are they? But they're beautiful. They've got that history. There's enough interest there with all the different range of air-cooled and water-cooled ones, and then your 911s and your Caymans and Boxsters and all that sort of stuff, your Spiders. So there's a lot of history there, and you can get your head around that. It's just a shame that when I do this board today as of 2024, there isn't a big long list of like 20 different manufacturers that have all got an option that competes with Porsche. It almost feels to me like the other manufacturers have just given up the ghost and just said, like, give Porsche the performance thing. We won't be able to compete with them. You know, just give it to them. Just don't bother. You know, that's what I almost feel it's gone like. And it seems to be more of a competition now to sell the mass market crossover cars that run on electricity. They're thinking about what the future is in the mass market, and these performance cars are kind of like a little hobbyist thing, small section of the market, I'd imagine, but they mean the world to me and you, don't they? They mean everything to us. Have I forgotten anything that would make a much better option here than a Porsche? If so, what is it? Lamborghini, Pagani, but they're all high-end. Now we're getting into the high-end sports car area. So you can see kind of why I went from BMW up to Porsche, and I'm not sure where I'd ever go next. And I think a lot of people stay at Porsche because it's got so much, there's so much to explore there. And that's part of the fun. So I hope this was an interesting video, guys. It was just on the fly kind of thing that was on my mind. And collectively, I still struggle to think, why aren't there more people? Like, if there was a collective of individuals who are really motivated, sort of like 10 people, like all in their 40s or whatever, really motivated to say, right, I want to build a car. I want to build a sports car to compete with Porsche. Not to copy Porsche, but I'd say like a mid-engine sports car with a good chassis, well engineered, that looks beautiful, that isn't cheap and isn't some plastic-a-thon. You know what I mean? Has a bit of styling, some European, British styling, you know, heralding back to our days when we actually built cars. And what a travesty, that'd be another great video, isn't it? What a travesty that we don't build cars in England anymore. And I know there's a couple of little exceptions to that, but we don't really have a true car manufacturing company like we used to operating in the UK, and I think that's really sad, isn't it? They've all been sold out or bought up, you know, or just gone because of you can't compete with the offshoring and the outsourcing and the global market. So a lot of these now are made in all strange places all around the world where they can just get them as cheap as possible, make as much money as possible. Because all, like Danny would say, all the bean counters are now infiltrated all these organisations. They're run by bean counters and not people that actually love the cars. Porsche, I think, still have an element of that love and passion there, although I'm sure the bean counters are in there as well. So, thank you for watching, guys. It's been the Forensics Detailing channel, Unplugged. Do not forget to subscribe. I'm going to be trying to do a lot more unplugged content. It's very hard to keep 2 channels going over a course of a long period of time, but I enjoy this sort of informal content. It's not difficult for me to make this stuff. So if you like these discussions, subscribe and join in on the discussions and tell me what else you'd like to talk about, because I find it interesting. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.